Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So our last one that we did was a 10-minute little blurb showing how the Bible's flood story is really, it's a revised one of much, much, much older flood stories with a lot more detail. And we're going to be doing videos like that so you can share and hopefully awaken more people. We'll keep them to 10 minutes or less, maybe even some literal shorts of a minute or so, so we could get multiple points across. So you might see more shorter dives as opposed to deeper dives. But still, the purpose here is awakening the planet to what's going on, because so much of the planet has just been sleepwalking. And in case you missed this, we have the Earth getting a new moon. Asteroid 2024, PT5, 10 meters in diameter. It's going to be captured by Earth's gravity in late September 2024. And it's going to swing around in the Earth in orbit for 53 days and then leave. If I was a suspicious folk, I would say they're just trying to cover up for a ship that's going to be docking and making a short visit.
Yeah, something that's going to refuel or something, have a meeting with the leaders. Oh, I don't know, something weird.
When you think about it too, I mean, we had covered before, in case you missed it, when all the world leaders all the big guys of religion and politics, such as the Pope and the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church and president of the U.S. and they were all going down to Antarctica for some strange reason. All going down to Antarctica. Again, we got that they were literally meeting with direct representation face-to-face of the Anunnaki. And could this be something like that? Could it be a ship that's literally going to come, park for a while, dock, and then go, and they just are giving a cover story?
Well, yes.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Sure. By the way, here you go. This is in Virginia. Now, this looks like what typically they would say is a Starlink rocket. Oh, don't worry, that was just Starlink. That was Elon doing it again. However, there were no launches that were listed at this point in time. This is in Virginia, and in Virginia and West Virginia and Pennsylvania too, I can remember similar occurrences to this over the last several years. Of course, there's a lot of secrets they keep from us. This does feel like it's not that advanced technology, but again, it could be some of those joint ventures that go on between humans in the military and non-humans in, again, a military role, not necessarily of any of our countries on the planet.
It could be some aliens out for a joyride.
It could be, stranger things would happen. And check this one out. This was really kind of cool. It comes close. There's a saucer, comes close to a plane, and then it's like this. It reminds me of nano black goo. Comes out in a cloud and seems to sort of shoot something off from it. And there's this distortion. Isn't that cool? What the heck is that? And then what the heck did that launch? Was this all just a CGI event? What do you guys feel? Feel into it. Do you sense that this is a hoax, CGI, etc.? Or is there something to this? Again, it's learning how to... It's learning how to feel into things and insert your feelings. Search your feelings, Luke. I am your father. This is really very curious. And see the thing? There's like a kind of a projectile. It looks like it's sort of rocket shaped, doesn't it?
Well, I think this is really good because there is a lot of CGI that's going to be coming out, and for people to use these opportunities to practice using their intuition. And, contrary to popular belief, the more often you are wrong, the better you're going to be able to read your energy and other energies too, because it's that little sting of, oh man, I got it wrong. It's what makes us sit down and think and revisit those feelings when we were looking at the thing, and it helps us decipher, and it's more of a guide than anything. So don't be afraid. Get out there, make your guesses, figure things out, because this is what we can do. This is what we're made to do. We're made to look out into the world and use our discernment. And the only way that's going to get really strong is if we take a chance and just try.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the more curious ones I've seen. It's very, very, if somebody potentially put this together, this was very, very detailed and interesting, to say the least. Then we have these apparitions. And again, it's been seated in the mind of many, many, many people, especially those that still have a fundamentalist mindset, that you're going to see Project Bluebeam, which is technology to replicate everything from the Second Coming to an alien invasion. So a lot of things will be written off, even if they were actually real and legitimate, but in many people's minds. And this is just so prevalent. I think the interesting thing is when you really go deep and you research Project Bluebeam, it itself almost feels like a black hole. It feels like a red herring, because it's one of those things like looking for the actual founder of Bitcoin. Is he even real? Was he ever even real? Or is this some sort of scam in a way to kind of blanket over, just like, oh, well, it's Elon, it's Starlink. Hey, look at that series of lights in the sky. Well, now everything has got to be Starlink. It's just an automatic response. Same thing with Bluebeam. And, oh, well, it's got to be Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion. But, the alien invasion already happened thousands of years ago. Yeah, it's again what the system does. Again, in the past, you would have been executed for saying that the Earth goes around the sun, and now it's gone a complete 180. As long as they keep us going off in these safe tangents that really will not give clear answers, they're happy. They don't care which way you go, as long as you're missing the things that they want you to miss.
I think it's really important that we always keep in mind everything that's happened to those people with a different idea or a different thought that goes against the narrative of the controllers. And when we do see things and when we do hear things, keep your mind open. Keep that mind open, because so much of it is just manipulation. And the more we are able to recognize that, it's almost like you have to step back. It's a humbling saying, whoa, I could very well be wrong. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to do, because you have to rework your whole life. But if we can all just do that and step back and find that recognition that this isn't what we thought, and then move from there, I think it makes us so much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to put out there that in the past, when the church was executing people for saying that the world was not flat, because they did. Again, when you questioned these things, you were deemed a heretic, and they could and did put many people to death as heretics. So, well, okay, was the church giving the truth back in those days, for our flat earth family? Well, look at their character. What were they doing? No, when you look at the history of the popes, they were all pretty much pure evil for the most part. They were always about expansion and wealth and power and control. they were giving off decrees that could be used when they were sending war parties off to pillage, rape, rob, and loot indigenous people all across the globe. A global reference there. These decrees would basically say, God has ordained that we are to take over your lands, and we will take, anything that we want because God has said this. And then when you look to, the chosen people concept, it's the same thing. Well, God has given us this land that's going to be greater Israel. Who's telling you that? They are. How do you know? Well, their God says it. This is exactly what the church did with the decrees, and they would, read these decrees in Latin or Spanish or perhaps French, or English. The natives don't know what they're saying. They didn't speak those languages. So all they hear is wah, 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 kind of like Charlie Brown with the teacher. And next thing you know, they're being led away in chains or killed or having all their belongings taken from them. And then they're basically taxed and given a whole new system of life and a whole new belief set. This is exactly what the system does. And the system hijacks everything. Everything. So when we do have real apparitions, which, some things we see may actually be real when we're thinking that they're not real. And of course, the majority probably is faked in one way or another. When you see these things, people will say things like, well, it's an angel of God, and think that it has to be biblical because that's all they know. And it may very well be what we call an angel. And again, the biblical term for angel literally translates to messenger. And when it says many people have entertained angels unaware, well, this doesn't look like a human. This doesn't have a body. This cannot mate with us and create new beings. No, this is if this is real, is real. If it is real, it's obviously what we would call more of an energy or light being. So, obviously it couldn't create new babies. But there is also this tendency to think of things in terms that we've been taught to embrace. And so, in Greece here, this is in Greece, by the way, you probably are going to be very, very Christian. And we think about Fatima, Portugal, Our Lady of Fatima, May 13th, 1917. Why do we adapt it into being Mother Mary automatically? Well, because everybody was Christian and tend to be Catholic. And also, that's what the little ones would, perceive of when you're thinking about a light being of a gentle, motherly nature. And it very well may be an aspect of the real Mary, who, again, we have Mary as one of our main guides, and she's always been with us. She's always been, in past ages, like my father, I've shared. My father, his sister, and his brother all had a vision of the lady. And, again, my dad grew up very, very Catholic. So, he went through Catholic school his entirety of his life. And so it's what they were trained with, and that's what they were brought up with. And they had a love for what we would call Virgin Mary, Mother Mary. And yet it can really be her too, because when we are thinking and really calling out to somebody on the other side, they can answer. Now, it doesn't mean that she would be dogmatic. She's not Catholic. This is the part that gets confused. She's not Catholic, and the Catholics don't own Mary. And this is the point. But we automatically assume that if you have a vision of Mary, then it's got to be just something that's going to happen to Catholics. No. In fact, again, when we look to the real Mary, both Marys, Mary Magdalene as well, the real Yeshua, they weren't Catholic. They weren't even Christian. And this is what goes right over the heads of so many people, as you see this in June 1981. 6 children between the ages of 10 and 16 claimed the Virgin Mary appeared to them. And this was in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And they said that she had shared messages of peace and prayer, which she would, because she is the feeling of love that comes from this being is so real. This is a very, very high frequency being, truly angelic, and very, very real. And yet, no, she's not dogmatic. She's not Catholic. Jesus is not Christian. This is the thing that people automatically make these assumptions, because so much of what we get has come from the control system, which creates these dogmas in order to divide us when the real beings are trying to unite us.
It's really, really hard, and in some ways for the soul to admit that they might be wrong, because there's like a safety thing in there. You have to ask yourself, oh my gosh, if I was wrong with this one thing, where else have I been lacking in my belief system? Where else did I need to do more work on understanding? So that's really a big deal. But when we're looking at these beings who come to people, they are showing themselves with great understanding, a lot more understanding than you would think. When someone needs to see these things, if they truly, truly need to see it, if it has something to do with their life path, these beings are going to come to them. They're going to come to them in a way that they understand. And really important, they're not going to frighten you. They're absolutely not going to frighten you. So it's going to be something very accepting of the soul. And if there's something going on and it does frighten you, well, that's where you need to ask questions, and that's probably where you need to put up blocks, and that's probably where you need to not extend your energy, and don't even give it any energy. If something is frightening you, you block that sucker off. And I was just talking to a friend yesterday that she was having some problems with an entity talking to her. Well, she closed the door. And that was so brilliant, because guess what? She could no longer hear him. And I just thought that was such a great visual. Just close the door. Do not give it attention. Do not run around and try to find a bunch of answers, because you're giving your power away.
But we're not saying that about a benevolent being like this.
No, I'm trying to explain the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, just feel into it. When you feel the love that is so amazing that it will often hit you in such a sense that you're almost just standing there with your mouth open drooling, because you're just, it's just beautiful. It's overwhelming, and it's just amazing. And the dark energies, they don't do that. They can't even come close to replicating that. People are so twisted by a few verses in the Bible that absolutely, completely solidify like a brick wall their perceptions of things. Like Satan, can come like an angel of light. That right there, that one thing in so many people's minds blocks them off from true visitations of very high frequency beings, and that's the purpose.
Well, you are, when you get a visit from these beings and you feel that love and you feel that energy, keep in mind that love is tangible. It is an actual energetic force, and it's not just an emotion like we have been taught. And it's definitely something that's going to move you. It's something that's going to move through you. It's something that's going to bring you a great deal of healing. So it's all very, very good, and there's no faking that.
No, it's the frequency tells you what the being is. And again, it's only the fear-based indoctrination that keeps you from that. So, you have the Vatican finally weighing in because, again, the Vatican doesn't want to give power to anything that really is the side of light, because the Vatican is extremely dark. It's as dark as it gets. This is from earlier this year, August. Ohio woman claims she saw a Virgin Mary statue miracle. And, again, this type of thing can take off. Why? Because when one person sees something, if other people feel the validity in it, then they're raising their frequency up too, because they're starting to come from a heart-centered place of love and hope. And if they entrain to the higher frequencies, then all of a sudden you can see things, like seeing eyes open and close on statues. I see that all the time. Honestly, I really have. It's been very, very commonplace. And how can that happen? Well, because this is also part of the prohibition against graven images. Statues can be a very, very powerful conduit for beings to come in and manipulate.
I've heard people say something like, as soon as you bring a statue of a deity in your house, you lose all power. And I just don't subscribe to that. We have a lot of different beings that we glean assistance from, that we glean wisdom from. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. Not at all. We've shared with you the being that is with us on this property that we call Dolly. And Dolly is a little girl that died a long time ago. And she was she was born on Earth to extraterrestrial parents that came here, I would say probably in the Silver Age turning into the Bronze Age. And Dolly's very well aware of the Draco and the Greys and everything that's gone on, because her family was exterminated by these dark forces. And this is also part of how we know what we know. It's because of the ability to communicate with beings that are not on our density, on what we would call fourth density. Those that have passed on, as Cindy could almost every single time contact people that have passed on. It's just something that she can do, which she's been blessed with. And it's because of past life work. Our abilities, really most of it is just simply the fact that we've done these type of things for many, many past lives, and we've honed these abilities in past lives to utilize them as we go forward. But also, Cindy did have a walk-in experience. What's a walk-in experience? We've touched on this before. When she went to Monument Valley, the last Hopi shaman passed away, and his spirit passed into her, and has been, guiding her, and she's been able to use his abilities since that period of time, which happened right before we got together for the purpose of us doing this. So, again, most people don't understand that we are composite beings. There's more than one entity working its magic in your life, and what you would call you is in fact more of an amalgam of different entities. And this is stuff that's just not understood by most of the world. Now, if you grew up in a shamanic tradition, then you would understand this. This is stuff that would be taught to you as a young child.
Right. It's bringing in that understanding. It's bringing in that ability to bridge the gap between this 3D world and the other worlds, and giving people an understanding of the soul and what happens with the soul, and what happens if you have, a trauma, and how do you work with the energy body. There's just so much to shamanism, it's amazing, and it's like the oldest form of understanding of the bridging the gap that we have right now. And everybody has this ability. I don't think it's fair just to say, oh, well, this person's a shaman and that person can't be because they don't have it in their lineage. No, it goes back to everybody. It's, do you want to pull that into yourself? Do you want to utilize these abilities? Do you want to pull from whatever your lineage is? And there's many. So we can't discount anyone, but could you imagine if everyone understood the different realms and how we could live and manifest those things that we enjoy and appreciate in life? It would just, the controllers would lose all control. So it's easier for them to just put up a religion and say, you absolutely have to believe this or you'll die. It's easy for them. And then people follow that.
Out of fear of punishment, just like a dog that's been beaten or a kid that's been punished severely. There's that flinch. and the reality is too, they've done this to so many different indigenous people across the world again, and that have been forced to convert. And this is what the system does. Yet, when I was sharing about Dolly, we have like 40 or 50 statues in the house, I would say, somewhere in that range. And she loves to play with them, and she loves to rearrange them. And even though she's in fourth density, we can walk into the room where most of them are, and we'll find them in different positions. Because again, the ancients understood. This is why they did have graven images. It was something that could lend a more physical, tangible substance to the spirits on the other side that they could then communicate with us. Now, it's not just Christianity or Catholicism. There was, in the mid-1990s, millions of Hindus around the world that were gripped with these reports of Ganesha, who is the remover of obstacles, statues literally drinking milk, and the milk would just seem to evaporate into thin air. And it was a phenomenon that caught so many people up. There's been so many different occurrences of miracles with the Hindu deities too. So it's not just, again, Catholicism and Christianity. I'll see very, very ignorant statements that say it's only by the name of Jesus that you can dispel demons. And obviously those people have no experience with expelling demons, because we've done it hundreds, if not thousands, definitely thousands of times, because this is just part of what we do. When we first do energy work on people, the first thing we do is basically clearing negative energy. That's the very first thing you do. When you understand Qigong is energy work, and there are millions of people that practice Qigong. The first thing you do is purgation. What's purgation? It's clearing negative, stagnant energies. That's the first thing you have to do. And that does include negative attachments, which can be sometimes elemental in nature and often very demonic. And then sometimes, they literally are grays. And grays, there's many different types of grays. Some grays are completely synthetic. Some are completely biological. Most of those that we would encounter are probably a combination of the two. As again, the reason for so many cattle mutilations is to create more grays, which I don't know anybody else that said that so plainly, but that is a big part of it, because they'll take the DNA and they'll cultivate it, and they do it in such a way that the entity is created in they're trying to create an entity in a soulless way, so they could completely utilize it, and it won't start to question things. This is really what the control system's all about, creating mindless slaves. As you see, this apparent second son, or is it the fact that the real sun has moving somehow away from, or the screen that's supposed to stay in front of the sun simulator, that's part of what we first were doing, 2017, 2018, 2019, having so many conversations about the fact that, the second sun phenomenon. And, this is a lady in Ohio that has taken a couple of videos. Now, she's not behind a window. She's walking in a field and starts the video showing that she's out there walking in a field, going past this outcropping of trees to show you what she's been noticing on a regular basis. There's been a lot of people that have seen this. And again, this is not behind glass. So it's a curious phenomenon. But the reality that we've gotten is that there is a shield, whether you want to look at it like a Dyson sphere. This has been put in place the entirety of the Kali Yuga. So the entirety of the Kali Yuga, they have been blocking the light from the sun from hitting us full on, because light is information. This is, again, another distortion with the whole Lucifer thing. Again, many references to Lucifer have been made throughout the years, and the morning star and evening star is Venus. Venus is thought of as the planet of love and Mars of war, and really the system that we have came from Mars to here, when many have made the correlation of Yeshua, the real Yeshua, to Venus, and the fact that he does have ties to Venus, and is a very, very different being from the Mars control system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot out there, but really I think it's important, if you're on this journey, you start going within, and you just be very careful about the information that you take in from anybody, because that seems to be the commonality of our world, is to just lead people down the wrong road, instead of teaching them to go within and find their own answers. So that to me, it's just, we got to keep that in the forefront.
Yes, absolutely. So, if you've wondered why sunscreen, why all the clouds to block the sun, it's because the sun is truly, it is a gateway to source. It's a gateway to the creator of this realm, and it is bringing the information, light is information, to us, to our DNA, to totally transform us into that which is our true potential, which is what we are in other ages. Again, everything that you see in this age is a very dark distortion.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, how do we know these things? It's not because we just read it somewhere. It's not because we watched it somewhere. It's because we feel it. It's because we can see it. It's because that's our experience. And this is where we speak from.
Yes, absolutely. And, left you have Roswell Rock, New Mexico. Right is Rio Grande petroglyph, and you could see, what are they talking about? Are they talking about some sort of eclipse here? You have two objects, and you have, when you watch the video, you'll see the progression here of it looking more crescent-like. Again, they were monitoring things. They were trying to share with the generations that are going to come later the events that they experienced, which really we are now going through these same events ourselves in this time of great change. This I don't know a lot about, but I just found it curious. They say crystals, quartz is coming through the road. I don't know if there was flooding, volcanic activity, or anything like that, but it's just curious that you have quartz uprising through this road. And somebody made the comment that he had heard that quartz, crystals are alive, and absolutely. If you listen to Cindy, she will say that crystals are our elders.
Mm-hmm. They have a lot of information to give us. They can do a lot of healing. They bring expansion, and they amplify energies, and you can speak to them, and some of them are very, very talkative.
And then we have these two cuties who were getting photographed, and they decided to come on by and have a sit and a chat. Again, nature is so much wiser than this particular global civilization that we have going on, in that nature understands the bigger picture more, but we've been cut off from nature in an unnatural manner, and it's through, again, the indoctrination, through the media, through the religious systems, the geopolitical, our way of life. Everything about this world that we have is very, very synthetic and unnatural. But the abilities are lying inside us. They're just waiting to be awakened again. And we are really, truly heading into a time of magnificent change. We just have to get through this bumpy patch, which is right in front of us.
Mm-hmm. And we are here to help awaken.
Please do like, share, and subscribe, and share this message. Let's awaken as many as possible. Much love, Source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.